Good morning. Welcome to episode 123 of the School of S.H.R.E.D. This is your daily dose of health and fitness, folks. We got a Q&A Friday, Q&A number 22. We're going to crack into today. We're going to crack this thing like an egg and fry it up. Give you some answers to your questions from this week, and then we're going to end the week strong. And we'll be back here on Monday. So the show is here Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on Facebook, on Instagram, and YouTube. We're also on Spotify and iTunes. Just search the School of S.H.R.E.D. This is the show that's designed to help you shred your old and make better your new. All right, a better body, a better mindset, a better life. All right, a better body and a better mindset creates a better life. And that's what we're here to do. We're here to talk about all things health and fitness, whether that's the body, whether it's exercise, diet, but we also need to have the conversation about mindset too. And so we also cover that on this show. This is sponsored by the Online Health Academy, which is my online training business, and it creates a student out of you and puts you through a process of relearning and rediscovering what holistic health and fitness is through 5 different courses or 5 different modules at the school, being spirit, habitat, recovery, exercise, and diet. You're given assignments on each one of those 5 modules and shepherded through this process to make you better in every way so you can go produce more inside your life. So let's get into it. This is Q&A number 22. And well, I'm doing something different this week. This kind of just intuitive. I didn't prep for any of this. I'm just going to throw these questions up. Just copied them. So number 1, first question is, what foods do you think are best for energy levels? So we talked about more energy this week. So this was a response to that. What foods do I think are best for energy levels? The place that I would start off if I was trying to get more energy would be looking at foods that are high in B vitamins. So we're going to talk about red meat here, but we're also going to talk about, we'll get into that. So let's talk about red meat. So red meat is the highest food in B vitamins. It's also high in iron. Okay, iron helps our blood supply. It helps with energy levels. I have had clients with low iron, and I have seen the toll that that takes on individuals. And so high iron levels in red meat, but B vitamins. So B vitamins are important for cellular energy. Okay, there's 9 B vitamins. There used to be 12, but they've disregarded 3 of them. That's why you got B12. And you're like, wait, what? There's only 9. But anyway, red meat has all of your B vitamins in there. B vitamins are crucial for the fat burn process, but for getting energy at the cellular level. So that's why if you've ever had any of these little energy shots they have, if you look at what's in them, it's usually about 500% of your daily value of B vitamins, and I mean a minimal bump of caffeine, but nothing too much. And so these little energy shots are not caffeine. They're not something that produces cortisol in abundance. What they are is they're charging you up with a big serving of B vitamins. Now, B vitamins are a water-soluble vitamin. So you have 2 forms of vitamins. You have water-soluble and fat-soluble. Fat-soluble is stored in fat. Water-soluble can be excreted through urine if you have too many of them. So that is something that we want to be aware of, is that you can overdo fat-soluble vitamins, but B vitamins, that's why you can do 500% of your daily value. And we got to remember at the same time, daily value, you guys, is based off of the minimum dosage requirement to not get sick. So if you're getting 100% of your daily value, you're kind of being sold a story of that's optimizing health. It's really not. 100% daily value of something is basically the minimum threshold for you to not get disease. So that's important to know, because I think a lot of us go, well, I only need 100% of my daily value of iron. It's like, no, that's the minimum amount for you to not get sick. And I wish there was a better job of describing that, because we should be putting studies into what is optimal for human health, right? So if 3,000% of your daily value of B vitamins that you would get from some liver, we're going to talk about liver here in a second, is you get 3,000% of your daily value for that. Well, is that maybe potentially 100% to optimizing health? And because what we're going to talk about is that when I eat liver specifically, now we'll share a personal story here. I started eating liver twice a week, grass-fed beef liver twice a week, sometimes chicken liver, about 2 years ago. And I remember the first week that I did this, I did it twice, and I was in a calorie deficit. I went in and I put an extra 25 on each side of an iso wide chest press and did the same 10 reps that I had been doing. Now, anecdotal, sure, but there's something to be said about when I started getting into this whole liver thing and understanding like, wow, there's a lot of nutrition in liver and these organ meats that I had no idea of. But it was old school bodybuilders. They knew how powerful these foods were and how nutrient dense they were. So, to me, it's like that's optimizing my body. Now, how much B vitamins did I have in those days? Like I said, I mean, I eat about 8 to 10 ounces of liver at once. So that will be, I mean, that's like 7,000%, I think, of your daily value, or at least 3,000, 7,000, depending on what B vitamin we're measuring. That's a freaking lot. You're loading up. Never felt better and more vitality than starting to eat this liver. So much so that I've had to learn how to cook it because it's a tricky one. Organ meats are a tricky one to learn how to cook. But and again, we're bringing this up because we're talking about what foods are best for energy levels. B vitamins are crucial for energy levels. We talked about nutrition a couple episodes ago, and we talked about more energy. And this is a staple in my diet. I would say 80% of what I eat, truly 80% of what I eat is red meat. And so if anybody out there is still scared that you're going to get heart disease from eating red meat, let's ask why. Why do we think that? Because cholesterol numbers are going to go up. What about if your HDL goes up? Those are good blood lipids. Do you also realize that your body has to create cholesterol? That's how essential it is. Do you also realize that cholesterol is the backbone for every androgen that your body creates, like testosterone, vitality hormones? So we need to start looking at this. Well, what about saturated fat? How saturated fat is not going to clog your heart? How is it going to clog your heart if there's no inflammation? High fat diets, low carbohydrate diets they're anti-inflammatory. A ketogenic diet has been shown to be one of the most potent anti-inflammatory diets on earth. So we have to start reconsidering that what we have been told in this thing that's been sold to us. Unfortunately, there's a lot of lies out there. And I wish it weren't true. But the good thing is that there are very smart people now who are challenging the status quo, and actual researchers that are releasing that saturated fat is cardioprotective now. Just so happens to be the exact opposite of what we've been told. Now, I talked about this in the live classroom the other day with my students, and we were talking about how, even the American Heart Association, they have lost the respect of a lot of the public because they flip-flop. They write an article on how cholesterol is bad for you, and then they write an article on how it's good for you. Then they write an article about how coconut oil is not good for you. And then they write an article about how coconut oil is good for you. Now, it's okay to be wrong and to continue to learn, but when you flip-flop constantly, maybe it seems like there's some money involved that's making these people do this stuff. So anyway, saturated fat and red meat are great in the absence of inflammation, in the absence of an inflammatory diet, in the absence of other toxic chemicals that you might be putting in your body, right? That's what we want to be looking at. So red meat is a majority of what I eat, and my energy levels are great from it. My girlfriend, she also is a big red meat eater, and I have watched her health improve as well through our time of eating a lot of red meat now. So B vitamins are crucial. Iron is crucial for energy levels. Something that I also use is bee pollen. Bee pollen is very high in B vitamins. So I use bee pollen in a lot of if I want something sweet, and we have a couple little kind of keto chocolate peanut butter recipes that we make up with some fudge, stuff like that. I always throw big helping of B vitamin or bee pollen in that, and then also like to do a good clean protein powder, and I'll do like a pudding with it with like a full fat cream, a little bit of coconut oil, and battery's going out. Coconut oil, and then I'll mix in some bee pollen in there. So we're gonna take a rest just for a second. Hold on. Okay. Oop. All right. Things are getting interesting today. So anyway, for those of you who are watching, you just saw my camera go out, but we're good now. So we're back. So that's the foods that are best for energy levels. Okay. So I would say you want to be looking at B vitamin foods. So red meat's really good. High protein, like chicken, fish, all that stuff is good. Giving your body what vegetables don't give you, which is zoo nutrients, things like carnitine and creatine. So those are great. Then also throwing the veggies in there, you get like deep green kale and spinach. Those guys are also great for energy. So moving on. Next question is best body weight exercises. All right, best body weight exercises. Well, it depends on the individual, but you're really going to have kind of I would say the big 4 or 5. So like push-ups, squats, or lunges. You got burpees, for who is tolerant to it, and then something like crunches or side crunches or something like that. So that's where a lot of my body weight recommendations would come from, is just those basics. But then there's certain ways that you can manipulate those. So you can execute them differently. And so those would be the best recommendations. I mean, but it all depends. It depends on your structure. It depends on your injuries, what you've had happen, what your history is. If you've listened to the show for any period of time, I'm big on that. But if it was somebody who just didn't have any injuries and they were totally good, right? We got this perfect person, this perfect being who's not injured. They're about 5'10", 175 pounds. Okay, it's kind of like me. And they got no injuries. I have injuries though, but they have no injuries. Then, push-ups are great for a press movement. That's, you get some core activation, but most of it's going to be chest and shoulders and triceps, depending on how you go about executing it. And then you got squats and lunges. Those are great. One thing I'll say about like something like squats, like air squats, femur length, tibial length, spine length, that's going to change the mechanics of the movement. And so feet closer or wider is going to have to be adjusted for, but those are the basics. Number 3 is how many cheat meals can I eat per week? That depends on your goal. It depends on the deficit you're in. It depends on your hormonal health. So usually as a loose recommendation, I would just tell, like if I had a client that was just starting off and they asked me this question, I would say it's, do you have any nutrition experience? Do you have any dieting experience? Or is all of this food new to you? And if they're making drastic changes, I would say, okay, 2 times a week, go out and have a cheat meal. If they've kind of been doing this stuff for a while, I'd say, okay, go ahead and do once a week, go get what you want. If they've been doing this for a long time, like a year or longer, and we've gotten really good results, I'll say, hey, think about taking that cheat meal and making it from home with good ingredients. So you're not clogging your hormones, and you're not potentially getting things like oxidized vegetable oils in. Well, I mean, those two go together. So vegetable oils are oxidized, but you get these toxic vegetable oils in if you're doing fast food and stuff like that. So it would be best to make that meal, but that's long-term. It just depends on where the person's at. Where are you at in your fitness journey? That's the most important thing, is to understand where you're at. So, if you're brand new, twice a week, go relax, do what you want. You're changing your habits. You're doing good. It's hard to change. So I commend you for changing. 2 times a week is totally fine. If you've been doing it for a while, once a week is great. Eventually, if you can just make it from good ingredients, you're going to start to notice that maybe you don't have cheat meals anymore. It's just maybe a higher calorie day, which is nourishing to the body sometimes. Question number 4 is, this is cool. This is different. Somebody asked, is pork a good protein source? This is good because I remember toiling with this for a long time. Because people, bacon's going to clog your heart, because when I was younger, it was all saturated fat, so bad for you. There's no context when people say that, though. So, is bacon bad for you in the morning? Well, if you're having bacon with, if you're doing bacon and eggs with, French toast or pancakes, and then you out and smoke a cigarette afterwards, that context is probably not good. That saturated fat might do some damage to you in that context. If you're doing bacon and grass-fed butter and some eggs and maybe half an avocado, and then you're going to go exercise later in the day and you don't smoke, and you're not inflamed, well, it's probably going to be good for you. So that's what I'm talking about when I speak about context. We need context, because And there's multiple factors that cause issues here and disease. So number 4 is pork, a good protein source. Absolutely, it's a great protein source. You have pork chops. You know, if you can get heritage pork, that's good stuff. Bacon. So bacon's an interesting one. So what makes bacon a food that I think is a bit controversial is, I mean, why would it be controversial in conversation with me? Is I would say the nitrates that are preservatives they put in there have been tied to gut cancer. And so you don't want anything that says sodium nitrate. You don't want any of that in your bacon. And so you're seeing a big movement now of uncured bacon, which is what you want. So look on the ingredients. Let's look at ingredients. Let's keep these toxins out of our body and realize that the meat is perfectly healthy. The meat is a blessing to have that good pork, but it's the curing process and the preservative process that's causing a lot of issues. So, you know, uncured bacon tastes a little more like ham than it does like that real kind of crispy type bacon, but there's some good stuff out there. So pork is a good protein source. Pork tends to be pretty fatty, especially like pork belly. That's what bacon is. That stuff is really good for being on a ketogenic diet. So I'll throw that in the smoker if I do like big slabs of pork belly, and that's like having big chunks of bacon, which is really good. But there's also some leaner cuts. So there's like, you know, your pork chops and whatnot. If you get heritage pork or you get, you know, natural pork, it's going to tend to be leaner. It depends on what the animal was fed. Pork is a protein source and be rotated in with fish, chicken, turkey, all that good stuff. All right. Last one of the day, unless anybody's got other questions here. So we're going to wrap this thing up. How often do you recommend fasting? So how often do I recommend fasting? So this actually came up in school in the Online Health Academy this week because there was an assignment that went into this. So how often do I recommend it? Well, it depends on the individual and the type of fast that you want to do. Usually I like to get people introduced to doing 24-hour fasts once a week. But it also depends on who they are, what they have available, what their you know, other precautions that we should be taking are. But you know, I think majority of the public should be able to pull a 24-hour fast off if they have good metabolic health. So doing that is good. Really long fasts are the thing that really reset the immune system, like 72 plus hours. Very interesting stuff there. The rabbit hole goes pretty deep, and it's going deeper as they study it more. But, you know, the 16 and 8 method, you could do that every day. That's perfectly reasonable. If you're just new to fasting, just start off with doing a 16-hour fast once or twice a week and just kind of test the water, see how it is, see how you are. Expect to be hungry throughout it, but you shouldn't be, you know, shaky or, you know, having physical ailments because of the fast. That means that you're not ready for it yet, and you should slowly nudge into it over time. So maybe you shave it back to, you know, maybe like a 10-hour fast or an 8-hour fast, and you can walk it up from there. So there's not a one size fits all, just like anything. The standard method is a 16-hour fasting period and an 8-hour feeding period. That's a good time restricting feeding, and that's very reasonable to do every day. You know, if I'm speaking in generalities, I think everybody should be doing that. I think that the science for eating numerous meals a day and continually spiking insulin can be problematic. I think if you're doing a short-term cycle, and what I mean by short-term is like a year or two to try and put on as much natural muscle as possible, I think doing your 5 meals a day or 4 meals a day is great for that, but we got to look in longevity. So that's 1 to 2 years to maximize your muscle gain. I'm not really on board with trying to do this bulking thing for 10 years to try and build up muscle. I don't think you need to do that if you're not taking anabolic substances. You know, through my experience of training myself and training lots of clients for natural muscle gain, there's kind of this genetic limit that you could find within a couple years of good structured hard training. And then from there, you can get into something lasting, which is for longevity, keeping body fat off, and maintaining insulin sensitivity, as well as maintaining a good fat burn. And what I mean by fat burn is not just about getting rid of the fat that you don't want to see. I'm talking about your brain being able to produce energy from fat. So you're metabolically flexible. If your brain can only produce energy from glucose, that can start the diabetic process of starting with hypoglycemia, leading into insulin resistance, pre-diabetes, and then finally type 2 diabetes, kind of this long gradient that you can get on. So that's a little bit about fasting and kind of the what I think about fasting and meal frequency and all that. So fasting is, I think everybody should try it. Absolutely. I think people who are overweight should definitely be trying it because they need to allow their body's system to recover from this metabolic damage of insulin resistance. And I think the best way to do that is going to be fasting and withholding food. And, there's people that I trust who are far smarter than me in this field who talk about that a lot. So that I trust. So, do what you want with it. That's the information. But yeah, it's all good. It's all good in the hood. So anyway, that's episode 123 of the School of Shred, the one and only, the almighty. Go to schoolofshred.com, www.theschoolofshred.com to sign up and become part of the next class of the 90-day curriculum at the School of Shred. I would love to train with you online. We can rock and roll. You get weekly assignments, weekly class meetups. You get Q&As on a live chat most days out of the week. I offer a ton of support on this thing. It really is a pretty dynamic online experience because I'm a true in-person trainer, and so I want to actually connect with my clients online. So I've come up with a system that I believe in, and clients who are going now are having a good time, and we're becoming a nice community. So go to theschoolofshred.com. You can sign up for your first 90 days. With that, I want you to stay strong and healthy in body, stay relentless and energized in spirit, and stay determined in your pursuits today. That spells shred. Now go shred the day and get better in every way. Until Monday, class is dismissed.